Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. We're CineChix. I'm Christina.
And I'm Jen. And today we decided to do something a little bit different. So we didn't really think of the name of this segment while we were filming. We thought of it after we were filming. And so we decided we're going to call it Cinebits because, you know, CineChix, Cinebits, it's on brand, so. We are going to be talking about Project Power. Now, this movie was directed by Henry Joost and Ariel Schulman. If you don't know who they are, they also directed Nerve, along with a couple other movies, and they're the ones that did the documentary Catfish, which started that whole show. So, quick takes on this. Overall thoughts, I thought it was a great concept. I really wanted a lot out of this. I was like, with the tagline of, what would you risk for 5 minutes of pure power? I'm like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be amazing. They had so many good ideas, and then I think it just fell flat. I was really disappointed.
The cast is pretty.
It was a great good cast. Yeah, but it was just like the writing and the world building was just not great, and that tagline was not at all what the movie was about, and that was extremely disappointing. There were so many plot holes, so many things that weren't answered. Not my biggest, but one of my pet peeves is at the beginning of the movie, it showed us that it was 3 a.m. in New Orleans. Why was it 3 a.m.? That had no point at all for the entire movie. Stupid.
My overall thoughts was I did enjoy it. You're completely correct when it comes to world building, and they didn't do enough. It felt like maybe they were relying on getting a sequel to kind of flesh it out more.
But like that's the wrong way to go about it. Since it fell so flat, it's not gonna get a sequel because it just wasn't good.
Not necessarily true.
It wasn't good. It doesn't deserve a sequel.
I wouldn't say it doesn't deserve a sequel.
It doesn't.
I wouldn't say that, but I do think that they probably were relying on getting a sequel to kind of flesh it out more, but they should have fleshed out the simple world stuff.
Which, especially if they wanted to have a sequel, then this would be the time to set it up and make it freaking fantastic. Make it so good that you're like, oh my gosh, I want another story about another group that is on these pills or something. But instead, it was just good actors, bad character development, bad story development, plot holes. Why was the daughter the source of these pills? They were doing experiments on Jamie Foxx's character, which apparently led to her being born with these powers, but how and why? Like, that doesn't make any sense. They were holding her hostage on a boat for how long? I don't know. We don't know how long she was there, but they already had these pills in production. I'm just like, that whole storyline didn't make sense. She was wearing a freaking hospital bracelet while she's kidnapped on a boat with no doctors around. I'm sorry, where did that bracelet come from? You just have like a little hospital band bracelet thing, like printer, laying around on the boat. And who was this lady that was in charge of this whole organization? Like, how did she come in contact with this? Did she work for the government, for the military, and she knew of these experiments that they were doing on Jamie Foxx's character and the other military people? And also, these experiments happened years ago because the daughter is like 16 years old.
Yeah, she's older. Well, I think they relied too heavily on their audience, like kind of assuming certain information. Like when I saw the lady, I was just like, oh, okay, she runs shit. That I didn't think they need to explain any more to me, but I just was like, oh, she runs shit. And then when
that makes sense. But whenever it's such a big thing, and it's like, okay, there's this big organization that like kidnapped this girl, you kind of want to know what is that organization.
They needed to set up the building blocks, the basics better, so that they can have the time to expand on who these people are and things like that in the next one.
I love Joseph Gordon-Levitt, but I feel like this character was I didn't love the accent.
Is that so hard to believe? Why? Is it because I'm white?
I didn't love the hockey jersey. And the jersey he was wearing seemed pretty pointless, but they made a point to mention that like there was some type of like hockey game going on that night, which I still think is a dumb plot point to have, which has nothing to do with anything other than the fact like I guess maybe somebody wanted that jersey to be worn. Nitpicking, but still. I don't know why that was important. Also, this whole movie takes place in one night, which I usually love like movies like that, but whenever the tagline of the movie is, what would you risk for 5 minutes of pure power? That is not at all what this movie's about. I thought we were gonna get like a bunch of like different people's stories or like, I don't know. It was just, for that tagline, should have been a different movie. This tagline should have been like, what would you risk to get your daughter back? Because that's what he did. The whole movie was just him trying to get his daughter back. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, he did a good job, but I just didn't love
the character the character itself is just not the greatest.
So now that I gave you all the things I was disappointed about, let's talk about some positive points. The cinematography was gorgeous, done by Michael Simmons. And he actually did the cinematography for Nerve.
Which is interesting because it's different in a way.
But it's the same directors.
Same directors and everything. I just mean like the cinematography of it was different. But I guess the movie, because it's not all those special effects moments that rely heavily on cinematography. Like with the rain scene. Like, I was like, oh my god, the cinematography is so beautiful. And that's another thing, the effects. Sometimes with Netflix originals, the effects are hit or miss. And I think that the effects, because they did use some practical with the effects. And so since they did that, the effects look more real, or more believable, I should say. They look more believable than some of the other stuff on Netflix that deals with supernatural powers and stuff like that.
So I applaud them for that. I feel like they did a really good job. There were some cool action parts. There were some cool moments in the movie. I think just the world building, plot holes, just kind of like, I just couldn't look past those points, because even as I'm watching it, I'm questioning a lot of things. Whereas there are some movies that have plot holes that you can just look past and you can be like, oh, well, that was a fun movie. Like, I don't really care. But like, this was a movie that like I was actively just like, what is going on here?
And I'm on the other side of that, where I was just watching it for what it was. So
I was watching it for what it was.
Well, I don't think it was as bad as she does. I think that it's worth a watch just to kind of make your own decision about it, since we're both on different sides. We agree, but you're like terrible, and I'm like, well.
Okay, it wasn't terrible, but it was not as good as it could have been, and I think that's why it's so disappointing. It had such potential.
It really could have been much better. The concept was there. The cast was there. It was just the writing just wasn't there. They didn't take the time to kind of flesh it out a little more. They relied heavily on fast action quick, instead of, you'll get action, but like, let's kind of delve kind of into what's going on.
Yeah. That's our quick take on the movie. If you guys have seen it, let us know what you thought. If you haven't seen it, tell us if you want to check it out after you've watched our review. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, click that little bell so you're notified when we drop new videos. Okay.
Bye, guys.
Till next time. Bye.